Good afternoon, financial professionals. Thank you for joining today. My name is Jennifer, Case Design Specialist here at E4 Insurance Services, welcoming you to the BREW, Building Relationships Every Week. For those of you tuning in for the first time, we like to kick off the BREWcast by celebrating what today's National Day is. And I have another great list for you this week. We've been on a state theme, I think, for the past 4 weeks. Today is National Virginia Day. So all of those tuning in for Virginia, happy Virginia Day. It is also National Hoagie Day. Can't have our list without food mentioned, I don't think. It's also National Live Creative Day. Wonderful thing. And last but not least, I think this one's interesting. It's National Parents Day Off Day. So when your kids ask you for something today, tell them it's your day off and see how that works out for you. On today's BREWcast, we welcome Harlan Accola from Fairway Mortgages for a special 30-minute brew. Harlan will discuss retirement planning with home equity conversion mortgages. He will share absolutely valuable and trustworthy information on the consideration of home equity and reverse mortgages as a part of holistic retirement planning. The program will give relevant information on reverse mortgages when it comes to estate planning and also preserving assets. I would also like to remind everyone to use your chat box throughout the BREWcast today to ask questions or to share your comments. And as a reminder, all participants will be entered into a drawing and we will announce the winner at the end of the call. Harlan, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity. I was really looking forward to this all week, so I'm glad that we could get together.
Absolutely. Really happy to have you. Before we start off with the content of the introduction that I just gave, when you and I were chatting before, and I know this of you from watching you and reading things and watching different videos online of your topics that you present on, you often encourage viewers, listeners to listen to you with skepticism. And you also actually encourage pushback from folks that are in your audiences or listening to you. Why do you do that? Why do you open up like that?
Well, yeah, you would seem like, why do you start a presentation with a negative? And the vast majority of my presentations start with a negative.
Right.
What don't you like about reverse mortgages? What have you heard about them? What don't you like about them? Whatever. But the reason I do that is because we know our audiences. It doesn't matter if, like, I'm here with 1,100 financial advisors in Las Vegas, and if we did a poll, less than 5% of them would have a positive feeling about reverse mortgages. There's an academic here, Craig Lemoyne from the University of Illinois, who's going to be speaking on it tomorrow, of all the research that he's done and the irrational attitude that people have toward home equity. But we know that people are irrational about reverse mortgages and about home equity. And we know that if we don't get that out of the way right away, they're not going to listen to anything else we have to say because they think we're just trying to sell something. And I know that's where my journey started. I was against reverse mortgages, told people not to get them. So when it was presented to me, if somebody would have just went on and on about how great they are without confronting the things that I didn't like and debunking my myths that were in my mind, I would have not listened to anything else. So that's why we start there, because we know that the majority of people, whether they're a financial advisor, an attorney, a client out there, a prospect, they have a generally negative view about reverse mortgages, or they think that they're for somebody else, especially for somebody that's broke, that it's a loan of last resort, which is the worst way to use it. But that's what everybody thinks. So we have to start there, because otherwise nobody is going to go beyond the next discussion. And you can, when I didn't do that, you'd see people dropping off from webinars or leaving the room, literally. They'd walk into the room, oh, reverse mortgages, yeah, I'm in the wrong room. So that needs to be immediately, because it's not like mutual funds or ETFs, something that people want to learn about and have a generally positive attitude about. It is automatically regarded as something negative or unnecessary.
I really like that. I like that approach too. Let's get it out in the open. Let's not talk about this. Why you have all of these thoughts in your head? Let's talk about it right now and get it out. So I appreciate that approach. Now let's get into some of the content today. And when I think of you or when I hear your name, automatically the first thing without fail that comes to my mind is that the majority of the population over age 62 and over should consider or should have a reverse mortgage. Why do you say that?
Well, it's because a lady came up to me when I was speaking at a CSA conference a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta. And she said, just so you know, I don't believe in reverse mortgages. And I don't believe in your idea that most people, because it was in my bio, I don't believe that most people should get a reverse mortgage the day they turn 62. And I said, ma'am, this is not a religion. I'm not trying to evangelize people into a religion. This is math. And you don't have to believe in reverse mortgages. You just got to believe in math. And I have seen thousands of scenarios over the last 18 years. I've sat at hundreds of kitchen tables, hundreds of financial advisor boardrooms. And every single time that we have done this, more than 90% of the time, whether it's Money Guide Pro or eMoney or the proprietary programs that are out there, Living Balance Sheet, et cetera, all the math shows the same thing. If you do a reverse mortgage, three things will happen. You will have a higher net worth, you'll pay less in income taxes, and you'll have more cash flow. And that the math just proves that out. You'll die with less equity, but with more cash. And so the reason that I say that is because most people think only a few people. I just had somebody come up to me this morning and said, I'd be interested in talking about reverse mortgages. There might be a few people, but I primarily deal with higher net worth individuals and my clients have money. So I probably wouldn't be a good person for you to talk to. And I immediately said, well, no, that's actually not true. We just did one for a retired surgeon who had an $8 million house and $12 million in a 401k. That's somebody with money, obviously, that's probably wealthier than a lot of your clients. And we were able to help him and save him $1 million in taxes. So people need to realize that it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. It's a multiple tool, and it's great for people that are 90 years old and broke. Certainly, we want to help those people, but it's better for people like me who are 62 and don't need a reverse mortgage, but wants to give more money to their financial advisor, have more life insurance, have more assets under management and more annuities and less home equity.
Okay. So when you talk about this, I know that you talk about, and it was said in the intro too, about estate planning and asset protection. You just talked about life insurance, advisors helping our clients. Can you talk a little bit about how reverse mortgages can help with that in more detail? Specifically, I know you talk about long-term care, and I would love it if you could get into that now.
Yeah, there's three people that you're working with who are over 62 that should consider a reverse mortgage. The first group have their house paid off. Well, they don't have access to there's no liquidity in that. You've got $1 million house and it's paid off. You can't access any of that money without selling it or getting a mortgage. The second group, and so you want that liquidity to be able to use in the case of long-term care, in the case of sequence of returns risk when the market is down, like has happened this year. You want to have that available if you want to spend the money out of your house instead of spending the money out of your IRA or 401k, or not taking as much money out of your annuity because you want to tie up more money so you can create more income. So whatever that use is, you want to have that money available. The second group are people like me who turned 62 and still had a mortgage payment. Mine was by design. Sometimes it's by default. But why continue making a mortgage payment when you don't have to? I had a $2,500 mortgage payment. I'm now sending that money to my financial advisor, not to my mortgage. So it's a big benefit to my financial advisor because I'm sending him an extra $20,000, $30,000 a year because I'm not paying off my mortgage. The third group of people are people that should move that are in the wrong house. They'd like to move, but they got their house paid off. And like me, when I moved to Edina, that house was more expensive in Minneapolis than the house that I had in Marshfield, Wisconsin. And I didn't want to pull out a lot of money out of my investments in order to get that house. But you can buy a house for roughly half price or 50, 60% down, depending upon your age, and without touching your other investments. So those are the main three groups of people. But one thing I want all of you to realize, we are not in competition with you. The people that should buy long-term care, we're a big promoter of long-term care insurance. That's your best option. But if somebody can't qualify for long-term care, or they're too old to get long-term care, or they can't afford long-term care, well, at least there's some money in their house. My dad had a stroke at 86. He didn't have long-term care. He obviously couldn't qualify for insurance in his 70s, but he was able to use some of the money out of the house in order to fund his care to stay at home. But we're not in competition. Somebody came up to me and said, I'm trying to figure out if I should get an annuity or if I should get a reverse mortgage. Should I take income out of my house or should I get an annuity? And I said, yes. And they said, no, I ask you which one. And I said, there isn't a which one, there's both. You get an annuity and you set up a line of credit out of your house. And if you need money, you decide where it's coming from. Do you need life insurance? Well, yes, because if you're the biggest factor and why we work so well with people that sell life insurance, everybody wants to leave their house to their kids. One of the most inefficient ways to pass on wealth. The most efficient thing, my kids are going to get a check from my life insurance company when I die. And we have a second to die policy for my wife and I. That's their inheritance. If there's money left in the house, great. But their main inheritance is life insurance because that is the most efficient way to leverage and pass on wealth. So we are a complement to what you do. I always tell people I'm the best life insurance and annuities salesperson that you're ever going to run into, because I don't even have a license, but I explain to people from a third party validation standpoint how important it is for you to have these products. So we work very well. In fact, most advisors that work with us increase their long-term care policies. They increase their assets under management, their target premium, because we are freeing up that money. I should have brought this up before, but this is a very important little slide here that shows the three buckets of wealth. The first bucket is the client's bucket, their ability to make money. The second bucket is your bucket that financial advisors work with every day. The third bucket is home equity, our bucket. And so the top rectangle is your wallet before retirement. The bottom rectangle is after you turn 62. So you're shoveling all of this money up into your wallet, and then most of it evaporates and you spend it, use it for food, clothes, kids, whatever. And they try to give you guys 5% of their income. That's the national average of savings is 5%, but they give us 25 to 30% of their income in bucket three. So when you come down to 62 and up on your bottom wallet, the bottom rectangle, and the money slows down from bucket one, everybody walks into your office and says, hey, I gave you $200,000, start giving me a check. But they gave us hundreds of thousands of dollars, usually in most cases as well. And we're telling people, pull money out of here instead of expecting all of it to come out of bucket two. And if you're still paying into bucket three, like I was, stop it when you turn 62 and shovel that money into bucket two to play catch up. So that's a very quick overview of why this works together and why we are such a big fan of long-term care, because if people, I can afford long-term care insurance because I never paid off my house. And so I have long-term care insurance, I have life insurance, I have annuities because I didn't stuff all of my money into bucket three, which is the most inefficient place to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I had shared this with you before, after the first time I talked to you, and also the first time I ever watched one of your presentations as a professional in the industry. I thought too, is he going to be selling away from the business, or are we able to work in tandem with them? And of course, you just did a great job of discussing how that works with reverse mortgages and how we can help each other. And ultimately, the end goal, of course, is our clients. Let's talk about Fairway a little bit. So why should we work with Fairway? Why Fairway? What sticks out with your firm?
Well, the biggest reason, and obviously, when I get a platform like that, it's easy to put in an advertisement for Fairway, but you have to look at things from a factual standpoint. We have 700 offices in every state in the U.S. Um, we have 100 loan officers that are specialists coming into Minneapolis this afternoon and tomorrow and Friday, being trained on the finer points of financial planning. Guess who the speakers are? Life insurance speakers, long-term care speakers, and financial management folks, to educate our people on how they can work with you. That's our biggest goal, is to have you guys as our wealth management division. Fairway has 10,000 employees. Not one of them sells what you sell. We're not allowed to. We don't want to. You are our wealth management division. So when Josh Kilty sat down with an advisor, and Josh and I went over with this advisor and their client a few months ago, we did a reverse mortgage for that client, and it was our client that we brought to the table for the advisor. And that advisor sold the long-term care policy, sold an annuity, and sold a life insurance policy, because of our overall plan that we had talked about before we talked to the client. So we called, Josh and I sat down and said, okay, here's their situation. Here's what their goal is. This is what they want to accomplish. The husband is recently deceased. The wife is a widow, doesn't plan to remarry, and she's got 2 kids, and she's got this much income, and she's got this much money in her 403B, et cetera, et cetera. How can we help her? As you just said, our goal is, yes, we want to increase our business. We want to sell mortgages. You want to sell your products. But the biggest goal is to take care of our clients. And when we went through, our goal was not to sell her 3 insurance policies, but that's how it made her life better and her kids' life better. And then he picked up some business from the kids also, because they were on the call when we were explaining everything to the family. So the reason that Fairway is so powerful as a partner for you is we're never going to compete against you, because we don't sell any of your products. And we bring you into the fold because, did you know that most people want to pay their mortgage? They like paying their mortgage payment. But if we tell them you don't have to pay it, one of the questions that they come up is, well, what would I do with that money? You need to talk to your financial advisor. They'll tell you what to do with $2,500 a month.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why the synergy, that's why Fairway, there's other companies that do them, but there's no company that has the commitment. We work with Ed Slott, we work with Jamie Hopkins, Wade Pfau, all of the top people in the industry. We understand your business, even though we do not sell any of your products.
Great. Thank you for that. Harlan, it is very apparent that you are so passionate about this message and about educating folks on what you're talking about today, so much that you literally have made a career out of doing this. Why are you so passionate? Tell us more about that. It's exciting to talk to you again, because the passion, it does come through.
Well, I want to put a burden on every single person on this call and give you some things to think about. There's a pensions crisis out there. We just we do screening of the movie. We just did it with a bunch of financial advisors in California last night. The movie, which Josh and I would be willing to work with you to do some movie theaters in your area. The baby boomer dilemma, that talks about the pension crisis, that talks about the 401k problems, the need for annuities, and all of these things working together. And we see there's a crisis going on. And this isn't just about us increasing our businesses. Yes, our businesses will benefit if everybody embraces this idea. But I've got my own reverse mortgage. My mortgage payment is 0, so I don't have to work nearly as much as I used to. Our kids are all grown and doing fine, and we don't have to fund their activities. So I don't need to do this. But there's 50% of the people right now that are in their 60s that are not going to be able to make it to their 90s without your help. It's that simple. And they need help with your products. They need help with our products. And if we don't do something, there's going to be a retirement crisis that is beyond anything that they're talking about with the recession right now. People just lost 15 to 20% of their investments in many cases that was in the market. Gas prices are up. Inflation is up, just like the 70s. All of a sudden, everything costs more. This hurts the retirees the worst. And how much is Social Security going to go up? 8.9%. Oh, big deal. The average
Mhm.
Social Security guy is going to get 80, $90 more a month. This is something, if you care about your kids and you care about your grandkids, and of course your clients, you will join this mission that Fairway has of changing the way retirement is done in this country. We're sitting on $11 trillion in home equity. And if just a few trillion of that was transferred over to your industry in insurance and investments, we would literally change the course of retirement and the baby boomer crisis that's going on. And we can only do it one at a time with your help. And that's why I'm passionate about this. This is a deal much bigger than, well, let's sell some more mortgages, or let's do X number of mortgages this year, or let's do X amount of help you guys do X amount of target premium or AUM. It goes way beyond that. This country is screwed up. And if anybody thinks Washington, D.C. is going to fix it, I've been there. They're not going to fix it. They don't have a clue. They don't even know there's a problem going on. They're talking about other stupid stuff. I've been in the Capitol and in the congressional office building talking to these people. They don't know about this. I've went with NAFA to some of the events, the Day on the Hill and so on. So that's why I'm passionate about this, Jennifer, because we must change this, because otherwise you're going to have a whole bunch of people that are in deep trouble and have a horrible last fourth quarter of their life. And they don't need to. They're literally sitting on money in their living room on their sofas, and they don't realize it. And if that was properly deployed in some of your products instead of our products, we would not have a long-term care crisis. We would not have a retirement crisis. People have put too much money into bucket 3 and not enough money in bucket 2.
Yeah, yeah. Great way of articulating the why we should do this, why it's so important, and why you're so passionate about it too. And I know for certain we join you on this mission of educating people and helping our country as a whole. So thank you for that. I think it's about time now that we can open it up for questions. But before we do that, Harlan, do you have any closing thoughts or comments you'd like to give?
Yes, this is a difficult thing to understand. It really is. It took me quite a while when I was against reverse mortgages, as 20 years ago. And when I went to my seminar and learned that I was wrong, I was pretty fired up about changing things, but it took me a while to understand it. This is like riding a bike. You cannot understand this without using real life examples. So what you need to do, and this is your homework assignment, is take 2 or 3 clients without their names and personal information, just John and Sue, whatever, and give them to Josh and I, and let us go through that person. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's a client that you just talked to yesterday, or somebody that you thought you couldn't help. And then go through that scenario with us before we ever talk to the client, because we're not doing any personal information. We don't have social security numbers. We don't even know where your client lives, but that we go through bucket 1, 2, and 3. How much money are they making? And what's the coming out in pensions and social security? What do they have in their 401k, IRAs, annuities, whatever? What should they have in there? And then what's going on with their house? And if you give us those 3 pieces of information and we have a meeting with you, if we find out that we can help that client and we can change their life for the better, then we work together. But you need to go through some of these case studies with us, with real live people that that is the quickest way to learn this stuff. I can give you 5 books to read. I can give you all kinds of stuff on our software and your software, but the best way to do it is to start with real life people.
Yeah, best way to learn, hands-on. I agree with you. Absolutely. Thank you for that. We'll open it up for questions at this time. So as a reminder, you can unmute your line, or you can also ask a question in the chat box. I'd also like to remind everyone that the recording of this brewcast and all of our previous brewcasts are available for viewing on our website at www.e4insurance. And Harlan, while we're waiting for questions, we'll do our drawing now too. And I'd like to ask you to do the honors of picking a number through 1 through 20 so we can see who our winner is for today.
I think 17 sounds like a really good number.
Number 17. Oh, Aaron Schmidt. Aaron, you are our winner today. Congratulations. Be on the lookout for an email from us with a CE voucher and also a gift card to Starbucks. So congratulations. It's coming to you from all of us here at E4. Thanks for joining too today, Aaron. All right, we do have questions in the chat box. So
By the way, for those of you that did not win, I'll let you all be winners. I wrote a book on reverse mortgages. I'm not interested in selling books. I'm interested in helping people with mortgages and insurance and AUM. And so anybody that wants a book, simply email Josh Kilty with your contact info, and we'll make sure that we arrange to get you a copy of the book. You can buy it on eBay for $20, or you can get it from us for free.
Thank you, Harlan. Thank you very much for that. Okay. We have a question here. At 62, when you start doing a reverse mortgage, does the monthly income stop when the equity is exhausted, or is it designed to be a lifetime payment?
You have two choices. You can take a certain period of time, like a period certain annuity, and say, I want $500 a month for 10 years, or I want $400 a month for the rest of my life, or whatever. And then once you pick that, regardless of whether or not the equity is exhausted, whether your house goes up in value or down in value, you are guaranteed to get that $400 a month for the rest of your life, no matter what. So you can also pick it as a line of credit and just use the money as you need it if you don't need income today. Or of course, you can use it to eliminating your payment. But when we annuitize the amount of money in your house, that's a guarantee that you have for the rest of your life, as long as you live in the house or a certain period of time. Some people use it for delaying Social Security. They say only 11% of people are going to wait until they're 70, and more people should. That's a decision you guys can make, and that you can help people with advice on that. But some people take out reverse mortgage money for 8 years until they're 70, and then let Social Security kick in after that. And so they only need 8 years worth of money out of their house. Again, Swiss Army knife. What do you want to use it for? How does it fit in?
Excellent. Thank you. Next question. If a couple does a reverse mortgage at age 62 and then moves to Arizona at 72, what happens?
Well, the same thing that would happen with the forward mortgage, in a sense. There's the balance. I get a statement every month showing what my balance is. And of course, you can only start out with 50% or less of the value of your house. So if you got a $400,000 house and you took out 200 grand, and then that grew to 300 grand in 10 months because you never made a payment and you took all the money out, well, your house is probably still worth 400, or maybe it's worth 500. Then you can take the money that you sell the house for, let's say 500,000, and pay us back the 300. And then the other 200,000 you can use to buy a house in Arizona with another reverse mortgage. Just like you have a bunch of 30-year mortgages. You sold one house, bought another one, whatever. You don't have to stay in the house for 30 years. Your feet are not nailed to the floor that you must stay there. Mm-hmm. And some people say, well, what if the value of the house goes down and there isn't any equity left? Well, then you've got more money sitting in bucket 2 because you never made a bunch of mortgage payments to a declining asset. So even if the payment goes down, you're better off not putting money into bucket 3. Bucket 2 is way more powerful.
Okay.
That's a great question, because people do move. I've got some people that are on their 4th reverse mortgage because they moved, followed their kids, refinanced, whatever, because you can refinance the reverse mortgage as your value goes up, and many people did last year.
Good to know. Next question. What is the advantage of doing reverse mortgage at age 62 versus at older age, we'll say age 75?
Yeah, so a lot of people say, well, let's wait because you'll get more. You'll get about 10% more. So if you're eligible for 40% at 62, at 75, you're going to be eligible for about 50%. But there's 3 reasons. Number one, if you have your house paid off and you don't need the money, get the line of credit in place because it grows by about 5% a year. So that $200,000 line of credit is going to be worth $300,000, $350,000 by the time you're 75. So get that, and that may be when you need it. So even if you don't need it today, you borrow money when you don't need it because that's the safest and the best time to do it. Get that in place now because you don't know if you're going to need money in the future. Somebody dies, somebody gets sick, long-term care issues. You just want to do fun stuff. You want to help a kid, a grandkid, whatever. So the earlier you put it in place, the better, because a bird in the hand is worth 100 in the bush. You don't know what's going to happen in the future. The other fact is if I can afford to make my mortgage payment and I'm 62, why should I continue to make my mortgage payment to pay off a 3% loan? I'm going to give that money to you guys because you can do more with it. Stop making a mortgage payment as soon as you possibly can, because give it to your financial advisor. Your financial advisor can do more with that money than what you can get by paying off your house. Who cares if you have a bunch of equity? That doesn't get you anywhere. The cash that we have in your investments is far more valuable. So that's why you want to do it as soon as you can. I turned 62 on April 26th, and April 27th, the title company was at my house at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was signing the papers. I'm not waiting. I mean, right now is the best time to do it, as soon as you can. Now, some people say, well, I'm already 75. Did I miss the boat? No. I mean, better late than never. Let's do it.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I do remember, and I'm going to paraphrase, so forgive me if I'm wrong and correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but I believe one of the things that you had said in a presentation that I was watching is, when is the best time to get a loan or to borrow when you don't need it? And you just said that a second ago as well. So it makes so much sense, Harlan. So thank you for that. I am not seeing any other questions in the chat box. So I would like to say, Harlan, thank you so much again for joining us today and educating us with this valuable information, and also for the free book as well. We really appreciate that.
We're glad to help out. And again, let's change some lives. It's a pretty fun feeling when we work together as a team. There's a lot you can do with your products. There's a lot we can do with our products. But if we get together, we can change a whole bunch of lives, because we can double, quadruple our efforts, because there's more options. So give us a chance to take a look at few. And if you're skeptical, we're not talking to your clients. We're just talking to you about case studies. And if we can solve a problem and increase your business and ours, and more importantly, change a person's life, that's what we're in the business for.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
thanks for the opportunity to be on.
Of course, we really appreciate having you. Tune in next Wednesday as Susan Johnson-Drenth from JD Legal Planning joins us for another special 30-minute brew to discuss special needs trusts for minors and adult children with disabilities. Susan will share how to identify when a special needs trust may be best for inheritance for a child of a client. She will also share what a special needs trust can do and what it cannot do. Thank you again very much, everyone, for joining today, and we look forward to seeing you next week on The Brew. Have a great week, everyone.